You are listening to DFPN, the Dat Feeling Podcast Network. If you'd like to advertise with us or have a great podcast idea that needs a home, please reach out to us at podcastdatfeeling@gmail.com. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you love to listen to your favorite podcasts. And always remember to question the answers. Go get it.
You are now listening to Wrestling with Our Thoughts with the Black Makk and Frank D.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wrestling with Our Thoughts. This is your host, Black Makk and Frank D. What is up, brother? We are back. We are 2 consecutive weeks now.
2 consecutive weeks, and the ongoing mass hysteria of the coronavirus is affecting the world of not only sports, but sports entertainment as well. And
Yes.
we're going to talk about it tonight because, it's a lot of things going on. It's affecting attendance. It could affect WrestleMania. They're talking about maybe pushing WrestleMania off until the summer. So
Yep.
we shall see the way it goes, my friend. It's very, very interesting this week.
That damn COVID-19 is it is running rampant in these streets out here, and it's getting very, very crazy. If you don't have your toilet paper, go get your toilet paper.
Right. If you don't have your toilet paper, get your toilet paper while you still can. I'm sure everybody out there knows Charmin is making so much money right now. You know what I mean? I have the Mega Roll, and I'm selling that shit for $1,000. Anybody out there who wants, to buy it?
That is right. Wrestling with Our Thoughts is sharing our wonderful Mega Roll for $1,000.
Exactly.
Hit us up
Right.
if you are interested. If you have absolutely no toilet paper, don't resort to cutting up your clothes to wipe your ass.
Exactly.
We have $1,000 roll.
And that's the thing that I don't understand about it. It's like everybody's buying all this damn toilet paper. Do you wipe the corona out of your ass, or how's it working exactly? I don't understand that. I mean, they're buying up all the toilet paper, they're buying up all the bread, they're buying up all the hand sanitizer. Like, I try to do a Walmart grocery order, and it's like there's nothing there. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? People. I think what people need to honestly do is they need to really do the research on this shit and understand that the coronavirus has been around for some time.
Correct.
And it's no different than the swine flu, anything that we have ever had. And in a few weeks, it should be over because guess what? Flu season is going to be coming to an end. So
know your facts.
Know your facts, and as a Rock would say, know your role. But in saying that, very, very interesting week as far as AEW. We were just watching some clips from AEW.
Yep.
Watched some clips from tonight's Friday night Smackdown, Empty Arena, Performance Center. I actually kind of liked it myself.
There was some moments in there that I don't think I would have caught if there would have been a live audience.
Right.
So it was kind of a refreshing show for me to actually watch, and we sat and watched the Bray Wyatt and John Cena segment,
right?
And that was very incredible. And I don't know how that would have translated. Maybe that would have been better with a live crowd, but who knows? It was still riveting. I really actually enjoyed it with just silence. So there was a lot of emotion that just popped out to me during that segment.
It goes back to going back to when Bray Wyatt really started to have a downward spiral in his career. It all really started with the feud with John Cena. And you remember that's when Wyatt was firmly entrenched with the Wyatt family.
Correct.
And during the stuff with the kids and the choir and the whole world in his hands.
Right.
That's when all that stuff was going on.
Now, did they play that like Cena buried him? Because Cena did mention that.
Yeah, it was pretty much like Cena was out there doing like a work shoot.
Right.
It's pretty much what he was doing tonight. So I think they did do that. And I think there's a lot of validity to what Cena said, and there's also a lot of validity to what Bray Wyatt was saying. So this is a real WrestleMania match that has a lot of personal stuff going into it. Cena mentioned, all the times that he's had to put people over, and he didn't bitch about it. And
he had some very valid points.
He did, but he left out something. He left out a particular faction that he buried at SummerSlam 2010. I'm wearing the shirt right now, the Nexus.
Yes.
So he left that part out. How he took that DDT on concrete and then got back into the ring and then act like it was nothing. So he, conveniently left that part out. But other than that, I'm looking forward to the match at WrestleMania whenever it happens. Because right now, due to the coronavirus, they're talking about, possibly canceling Mania until further notice, possibly having WrestleMania in the summer. And I'm thinking, like, how's that going to work when you got SummerSlam right around the corner?
Summer, right.
And that's the next big event. So this coronavirus is really affecting sports entertainment and sports entertainment plans. I know the NBA season is canceled until further notice. You've had the XFL is canceled, XFL is canceled. Indefinitely, NHL, MLB.
They canceled the Masters. The MLB season's delayed.
Got a lot of schools that are closed. Out here, all the LA county schools are closed. So it's a lot of shit going on right now as far as this pandemic and mass hysteria.
Yep.
So it's really affecting wrestling. I understand that this Monday night they're going to be moving Monday Night Raw to the Performance Center as well.
Yeah.
AEW's Dynamite next week, which I believe originally was supposed to be in Rochester, New York, is going to actually be moved to Jacksonville, Florida at Davies' place. And we'll have no audience.
Yep.
So they're going to be doing that, which is going to be very interesting. So moving forward here, I guess my question real quick to you is, where do you see this going as far as when do you think things are going to get back to normal here as relates to let's bring fans back into the audience who wash their fucking hands. I don't understand why the government has to tell you to wash your fucking hands.
You'd be surprised, man.
I don't fucking get that shit. I have an OCD, so my thing is I'm always I ain't shaking your fucking hand. I'm not doing that shit. You'll barely be glad if you get a fist bump from me.
You would be absolutely shocked at the amount of people that don't wash their fucking hands. It's crazy.
Right. So wash your fucking hands.
It's fucking crazy.
Right.
So, but to your question, I honestly don't know where this is going to go because I've never seen anything like this. Though they've labeled it a pandemic and they're taking the necessary steps to contain it. I honestly don't know how long this is going to take. I'm hopeful that they will get this over with by at least mid-April. But in the research I've done, they're saying this is just the beginning. This thing could last for about 6 months. Hopefully that's not the case. Because I'm really looking forward to Double or Nothing. So
right, I personally think that this is going to last a few more weeks.
Yeah,
I really believe
think
that.
So.
Because simply, we're in flu season. A lot of more people have actually died from the flu than have died from the coronavirus.
Right.
Which is, a lot of people the media is hyping this shit, and a lot of it is, like I said, it's just mass hysteria. You know what I mean? So, we haven't seen anything like this on this level. Like I said, we've had the swine flu. We've had, what was the other one? The bird flu or some shit.
SARS.
SARS and all that. So then we had, before that, you remember we had the mad cow disease.
Right.
And the flesh eating, shit. So we've had a lot of different things going over the years, but nothing like this and I think a lot of it too is just basically social media plays a big part of this situation. Right. Everybody's just freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, this is like the first big one in the social media era. Because
exactly.
Social media was out when SARS was out,
right?
But it wasn't on this level,
right?
So yeah, you're right. social media could be playing a big factor in it.
Right.
And that information spread is crazy.
Exactly.
So, yeah, you're right about that.
So, as far as the timetable here, as we wrap up our discussion here on the coronavirus, timetable, WrestleMania. Where do you see it happening? Do you see WrestleMania happening on schedule, or do you see WrestleMania happening as rumored to be in the summer?
Right now, so as of now, they haven't come out and actually said that they're gonna push it back or cancel it. They're still full steam ahead towards WrestleMania, and they're still building towards it. So I still see them doing it, even though the city of WrestleMania came out with a 250-person ban. That's for 30 days, which would take us right around April 2nd. So if it's contained enough by then, I fully expect them to have WrestleMania on April 4th on this planned date. But who knows? Like I said, who knows? We don't know what this thing is going to be doing. So,
and this also could affect as well. This will also affect the Hall of Fame ceremony.
Right.
And it will
you
also
have some
affect
big
the
names for the Hall of Fame this year.
So are we going to move the Hall of Fame? I would not mind the no fans being in attendance for the Hall of Fame, simply because of what happened with Bret Hart. You know what I mean? So I actually wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, when you say that, then yeah, I wouldn't mind that either.
Right.
So
and on top of that, I didn't like the setup for the Hall of Fame, last year, as far as having the ring there and all that. I didn't really like that. I didn't like the way they did it. Right.
So, and then you get to this whole, the travel.
Right.
So the coronavirus is affecting that too. So
absolutely, President Trump has a travel ban.
Right.
And so I'm not sure exactly how that would work. I don't know. It's just going to be a wait and see type of situation. Right. I mean, things are changing every other day. I mean, last week we weren't even talking about the coronavirus. It really amped up this week.
Yeah,
for
it literally Monday ramped all the way up.
Right, and there's talks of Tom Hanks and his wife have it. There's talks that Charles Barkley thinks that he has it. And he's self-quarantining for about 48 hours. So, I don't know. I know Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were supposed to be doing some appearance in Las Vegas. They pulled out of it.
Right. Hangman Adam Page came out with a statement saying he's not coming out. So.
Yeah, he's not coming out, and he's not going to be taking any more beer, which he should have been doing anyway.
Yeah, that's probably not the best move to be taking beer.
Right.
People. Exactly. Even if there isn't a fucking pandemic going around.
Exactly. I don't trust the motherfucker. So
that's just not the smartest move, Hangman.
Exactly.
But kudos to Tony Khan for his stance on it. And he came out with a statement and said that there's going to be no repercussions for any of the wrestlers on AEW's roster that don't actually want to wrestle. No harm, no foul. If you feel like you want to be safe, which led to the Hangman situation,
right.
The statement, and it won't affect their push or their pay or anything like that. So kudos to Tony Khan on taking that move and actually just presenting to the fact that he's taking care of the wrestlers. So kudos to him for that shit. All right, so AEW Dynamite. What are your thoughts on it?
Underwhelming this week. I think that they've done a lot of good TV. I think this week was, you ever heard the term a safe show?
Right. You think they played it too safe?
I think they did.
Now, one thing that I did notice, the crowd was very mild during this.
I think the crowd was mild because, like I said, man, it's a lot of uncertainty going on with this coronavirus shit. And obviously, looking back at it, yes, and it played a part in their attendance as well. Because if you look at some of those sections of the arena, there was really nobody there.
Right.
A lot of people
playing it safe.
Right. They stayed home. Right. Now, in saying that, why in the fuck would you debut Lance Archer?
That was an awkward debut.
Why would you do that? This guy is hyped. Jake says his client is coming. Why would you bring basically the next week. What I would have done is I would have had Jake Roberts come on his own, come through the crowd, and be scouting. Just looking at Cody and letting Cody remind Cody that
there was no
here.
build-up.
There was no build-up. It's just, okay, dude just shows up. And that's it. I thought his debut fell flat, especially when you're going to try to build this guy. This guy could potentially be an AEW World Champion. This is going to be a big-time player for them.
Oh, no doubt. I think him and Moxley is inevitable.
Right. Well, it looks like they're moving. It looks like they're moving right now. I mean, yeah, it's going to happen one day, but it looks like they're moving right now with Moxley. They're moving him towards Hager from that promo. Right. From that promo that Moxley cut.
Right.
But overall, man, I thought it was a very underwhelming show. I was glad to see that the Butcher and the Blade got a fucking win. You know what I mean? These dudes should be on par with. I would love to see them feuding with Omega and Hangman Page. Personally, for
Do
those
you think
AEW
that's
tag
coming?
belts. I think eventually
it will.
I
think based on what we talked on last week and this week, and like you said, it was. I saw them when I saw them come out. I started laughing because I was like, Frank was talking about this shit last week, and here they are. They're out here this week, and then they got the win. I was like, oh shit.
Right.
We kind of spoke this into existence.
Exactly.
I do think that eventually they will head down that path. But I kind of like where they're going with them.
Yeah,
I think
I
AEW sees what we see in them.
Right, exactly. And what I see is a very formidable tag team, and you add in the Bunny that plays a distraction. I think it's working, and they have that alliance with the obvious heat magnet in MJF with Wardlow, and they're out there doing their thing, and then. I just think that, I believe that with this week, specifically, I think a lot of it has been all wrapped around the coronavirus, and that's pretty much it's just put a damper on shit because AEW, they've been doing so much good shit, but it's like right now, okay, you guys are kind of falling off a little bit after Revolution. You cannot fall off.
You can't.
You cannot fall
building.
You got to keep building.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they do next week. I understand that they're going to be having their next show at what was it, Davies Plaza or some shit?
Yeah, in Jacksonville.
In Jacksonville, so they're not going to have an audience, and they're going to have the same situation like WWE did with Smackdown tonight at the Performance Center. So we'll see how that turns out. But overall, I mean, we were just watching the promo between Britt Baker and Big Swole. And I have to say, it wasn't one of Britt Baker's best showings.
Strongest ones.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And on top of that, I thought Big Swole saved it.
Right.
And I would love to see what they're going to do with Big Swole moving forward.
I think Big Swole's a star.
Absolutely.
I think she's a star.
Now, what do you think about her husband, Cedric Alexander?
I think he needs to go to AEW.
I think so as well.
I think he does.
He's obviously not happy with his current situation over at WWE and the fact that they're not using him like he would want to be used. And if that's his wife and it would make their relationship easier, then yeah, I would love to see him show up in AEW.
Right.
No telling on how long his deal is with the whip. So I don't know.
Yeah, I would love to see him there. I think there's room for him there. I think, who I'd like to see him in a feud with?
Who's that?
Pac.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
I think that'd be a good feud.
But I'm actually liking the Pac, Pentagon Jr. and Ray Phoenix, alliance here as a death triangle.
Damn good
so
trio.
Here's the question. Because you were just talking, but before we started recording the show tonight, you were talking earlier about AEW needing to introduce another belt.
I do.
What do you think about 6-man tag team championships?
I think they're moving in that direction, actually. Yeah. I think they are. I would like to see another singles belt as well.
Yeah, I would love to see them bring in the television championship.
Right. I would like to see the AEW champion and then a secondary champion.
Right.
Just somebody. Because to me, watching AEW, I think you kind of need that secondary guy to hold the title.
It's very similar to what WCW had back in the day. You had the World Heavyweight Championship, and then you had the U.S. Championship, and then after the U.S., you had the TV Championship. Right. everybody, and basically, the U.S. Championship was a stepping stone to the World Championship. It should automatically have made you the number one contender to the world title, because that's exactly what happened with Hulk Hogan and Vader.
Right.
When Hogan was there at Starrcade '94, after he wrestled Brutus the fucking Barber, Beefcake, as Conrad Thompson likes to say, Vader had won the U.S. title that same night, I guess, when Makk saw Jim Duggan, and then he goes and confronts, Hogan. And says, hey, I'm the number one ranked challenger, whatever.
Right.
That's how it is. The TV championship is more along the lines of mid-card title. It's something for the mid-carders to do. And in AEW, you got a lot of mid-carder guys that can use those belts.
Use a,
You know what I'm saying?
Use a belt.
Exactly. So I agree with you.
At least to establish, like, hey, this is the up-and-coming guy that we believe that he can be the next world champion.
Exactly. And I think that would help a lot of different guys. It'll bring a lot of credibility to it. I just think that with AEW, their big strong point too is that they have a really good tag division.
Right.
And I'm so glad, watching Private Party in that match with Joey Janela versus the Death Triangle. I'm glad that dude is not screaming anymore.
He didn't scream this week.
So I'm happy about that. I wish Joey Janela would work on his physique a little bit, but that's just me. So, in saying that, AEW events for New York have been canceled.
Yeah.
And so further notice, I guess they're going to try to go back out there.
Were they doing Blood and Guts?
They were doing it, and now they're talking about they're moving Blood and Guts.
Right.
So I think that sucks for the fans out there that were going to be in New Jersey, because that's where I think they were going to have it.
Yeah, they were having it in Jersey.
Right. So I think that sucks for them. But you got to be safe. It's safe for the fans, safe for the talent. So I can't wait to see Blood and Guts happen, and it's going to happen.
It will.
It's just we just got to get past this little distraction.
Right.
So in saying that, I just like I said, this week's AEW episode I thought could have been a lot better. Very underwhelming. But one thing I want to ask you real quick before we move on is, what did you think of the chair shots to the head by Chris Jericho to Hangman Page and who was it? Nick Jackson?
Nick Jackson.
Yeah.
Matt Jackson.
Matt Jackson.
It was Matt Jackson.
Yeah.
I thought it kind of threw me for a loop.
Right.
When it happened. The first chair shot. I was like, okay, maybe that was by accident.
Right.
Because he just swung.
Right.
And then he caught Jericho caught Hangman with a chair shot to the head.
Right.
And JR calls it skull.
Right.
You know how he calls it.
Yeah. Right
Steel
to the skull.
Steel against his skull.
Right.
I was like, okay, that's different. And I thought with the incident with Cody, they weren't going to do that anymore, but apparently, it still is a thing. I'm cool with it.
Right.
What about you?
I have no issue with it as long as it's done safely.
Safely, right.
Yeah, I have no issue with it. It caught me by surprise, but I don't have an issue with it. I thought it was well done. Jericho is a pro.
Yep.
So I have no issue with it at all. I thought it was pretty good. It was actually something different, and luckily no one got hurt too bad.
Seriously hurt.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
I had no problem with it. All right, so AEW is doing wonderful things on the social media platforms, right?
Right.
They are teasing all types of things. They put out a picture a couple weeks ago, and we just talked about it offline. We talked about it earlier offline about the Dark Order. They put out this whole thing, the Dark Order welcomes me, and the first letter of every line spells out Matt Hardy. So it leads people to believe that Matt Hardy is going to be the Exalted One. You seem to think that it's going to be Brody Lee.
I have reason to believe it's going to be Brody Lee, simply because it would be too obvious for it to be Matt Hardy at this point.
You think
because
so?
That's what people are expecting it.
Right.
They're expecting Matt Hardy to be the Exalted One. They're expecting Matt Hardy to show up on AEW television as the Exalted One. I don't believe that's the case. I just watched the Free to Delete episode with the Bucks of Youth.
Right, and this is where I'm saying they're using these social media platforms
absolutely to push the agenda. It's no different than what the WWE wrestlers use social media for on Twitter. They're
using the star feud.
Exactly. That's done correctly. It's not like some those lame ass tweets that Becky Lynch likes to send out. But I'm not even going to go on that one. But I don't. To answer your question, I do not think that Matt Hardy is going to be the exalted one. I think it's going to actually be Brody Lee. But I don't know, because I thought that Jake Roberts' client would have been Brody Lee, because he says the dark times are W.
Right, I thought
it would have been Brody Lee, but it was Lance Archer. So we'll see what happens. I'm very intrigued with this Dark Order thing. I think, like I said before, we were talking on the last show how AEW has had so many different factions,
right,
that have never intertwined. I mean, we really got down to the climax, pretty much, of the Elite versus the Inner Circle. Correct. And then we have the Exalted One with the Dark Order. How will that impact Blood and Guts? Will they attack both factions? Will they attack the Inner Circle?
They could just go ape shit.
Exactly. Right. Kind of like NWO back in the day.
Right.
NWO didn't give a shit who they went after. Anybody affiliated
Anybody
with WCW.
not in NWO was getting it.
So that was a Dungeon of Doom. That was the Horseman. That was any motherfucker that was
not NWO.
Exactly.
You weren't wearing black and white. You got fucked up.
Exactly. So
you got lawn darted into the trailer, a la Rey Mysterio.
Exactly. So, in saying that, the Exalted One next week, AEW Dynamite, Jacksonville, Florida. The Exalted One will debut. It will be revealed.
To me, it makes way more sense that it would be Matt Hardy, because if he were going to debut in Jersey,
right,
then that would have been cool. But him debuting in Jacksonville makes more sense because he's closer to Florida,
right.
But I understand that Brody Lee was supposed to debut in Jersey as well.
Right.
So he could have been the Exalted One. Now, if he turns out to be the Exalted One, what does that say about Matt Hardy? Or does it say anything about Matt Hardy?
I don't think it says anything. I just think that they obviously have something planned for Matt Hardy.
Right.
If Matt Hardy comes in, we don't know for sure if Matt's even going to come in.
Right. At this point, we don't.
Right.
But all signs on social media seem to point to the fact that he will be signing with AEW. Nothing's been confirmed as of yet.
Right.
But all signs, based off of social media, seem to point to the fact that he will be signing with AEW.
Right.
And that's where I think AEW shines, is on the social media platforms. To build their stories, to tell more stories, being the Elite episodes,
right?
Build more stories off of those between the feud between the Elite,
right?
Because they have been setting up the Hangman pages and the storylines. They've been actually furthering storylines via being the Elite.
Right. And
on the Free to Delete episodes, they've been intertwining those as well. So it's kind of interesting to see where they'll go with that. Do you think WWE will try to follow that recipe? Because it does seem to be kind of successful.
I think, honestly, WWE is in their own bubble and will only do what they want to do. Right. I don't think they're going to follow trends. Vince made it very clear that AEW was nothing more but blood and guts. So, in saying AEW's Blood and Guts, they have a fucking show called Blood and Guts.
Right.
So,
complete troll job.
Exactly. So, we'll just wait and see what happens with the Exalted One. But the Exalted One is coming to AEW Dynamite next week. So, check that out when it happens.
So, in saying that, the whole social media thing and how that all plays out, one big thing that we are not really focusing on right now is the WWE Network.
Right.
And there was a meeting or a conference a while back discussing the future of the WWE Network. So what is the update on that? What is actually planned on for the WWE Network?
I think from what I gather, they are still planning on trying to sell the rights to their pay-per-views to a third-party vendor. And, they're rumored that the pay-per-views can be about, between, for what I heard, $13 million is what they're getting right now due to the network and whatever.
Right.
They can jump that to maybe $80-something million. That's what I hear.
Just the network itself.
Just from those selling the rights to the pay-per-views to a different vendor. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's necessarily worth all that. Outside the big four.
I don't think they are.
I think the big ones that are going to be probably worth some money is going to be WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble.
I don't even think Survivor Series has a luster it once did.
Maybe SummerSlam, because SummerSlam, they kind of build SummerSlam.
Right.
But you're right.
Yeah.
Survivor Series is definitely not going to be one of those top-notch selling pay-per-views. It's really not. SummerSlam, yeah. WrestleMania, definitely. Royal Rumble is kind of on the same level as SummerSlam.
Right.
Because only really the hardcore fans tune in for a Royal Rumble. It gets the biggest reactions because you don't know what kind of nostalgia you're going to get. Somebody's always going to debut or return at Royal Rumble.
Right.
Survivor Series, the hardcore fan knows that some of the biggest debuts ever are at Survivor Series, but yeah, you're right. There's no real gauge on that, on what they're going to sell if they sell those rights, and you may not get a lot on your return.
Right. I mean, like I said, the rumor. I mean, they're getting back $13 million right now for the network.
Right.
The rumor price that I read the other day was between $80 to $110 million that they could get selling the rights. And
who are they selling the rights?
They could. It could be ESPN Plus would be their forerunner right now. To sell the rights to, and it's like, okay, which rights would ESPN want? Would they want the pay-per-view rights just simply for the big four? Or would it be the whole package? And then it's like, okay, then what do we do with the network?
Right.
You keep the network going because you have already built this vast library. For them to end the network
they spent a lot of money to build the catalog on that network.
That's the point. So if you basically shut that down, you're admitting you failed. Right. And Vince doesn't want to do that.
Exactly. He will never do that.
And so the network is part of their long-term strategy of growth for the company. Outside of the music edits and bullshit, I think the network is great.
It's awesome because you get to go down memory lane.
Exactly. As we're recording this podcast right now,
right,
we're watching WrestleMania 8. Sid Justice versus Hulk Hogan.
Right.
So it's a great tool. You know what I mean?
It is. It really is.
Especially if you're like a student of the game and you want to learn something about the industry of professional wrestling morphing into sports entertainment. The WWE Network is the place to go.
Right.
And that's just so many shows that I have on here. I wish they would add the classic Superstars of Wrestling from the 80s on here. Wrestling Challenge. Classic WCW Saturday Night from like the 90s. They got 93. They got 93 on there, but like let's get 94, 95, 96.
Yeah.
Let's get in there.
Yeah, that was my shit. Yeah. I used to love watching WCW Saturday Night.
Right.
I would line up at my grandma's house like whatever time it came on, I'm watching it. I think it was like 6 o'clock on Eastern on TBS.
Right.
I think
6:05.
6:05. Yeah,
Yep.
It came on at 6:05.
Right.
I used to be there watching that shit, and I used to love watching it.
Right.
But yeah, so hopefully they do keep the WWE Network. I would hate to see it go because there is a lot of nostalgic feels to it.
I don't think it's going anywhere.
Okay, cool. I'm down with that. I would accept it being around. I subscribe to it still.
Right.
There's still a lot of fans that don't like it because the last pay-per-view, Elimination Chamber, kind of fell flat.
But I don't watch. But see, I don't use it for that. I don't watch the network for the newer pay-per-views. I watch the classic shit. I'm in the archive watching the old shit. That's what I got it for. I don't want to watch the new shit.
Right.
So, but that's me. Everybody's different.
Everybody is different. Let's rebook an old school match. We did this last week. Let's do it again this week. I think this should be a weekly thing.
Yeah, I'm down with it.
All right. So, Sting versus Hogan, 1997 Starrcade.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was a monster build-up this was perhaps one of the most unique build-ups to a match ever, because you had the kind of metamorphosis of Sting himself.
Right.
From the old Sting to the new Sting.
Right, Surfer Sting to the Crow. Yeah.
Hadn't said a word in nearly a year up to this point.
Right.
Something was missing in that match. What was it?
Apparently, from what I understand, Sting didn't have a tan.
Really?
Right.
That's it?
I listened to 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, hosted by him and Conrad Thompson. And the story that Bischoff tells is that when they arrived to the building that day to talk to Sting about this match, Sting his head wasn't there.
Obviously, that made the match fall flat. Obviously, he was dealing with some personal things before then. What can you talk a little bit about what that was? Because obviously he had been under a tremendous amount of pressure, and this was kind of like his coming out party. Sting was already an established star, but this was bringing him to the next level. So what exactly was that? It's just that moment, I think, was way too big for Sting.
Here's the thing. Steve Borden, the man who portrayed the character Sting, was going through a lot of personal issues, and it's not appropriate for us to talk about those personal issues.
Okay.
Basically, it's just he had a lot of stuff going on in his personal life. We'll just put it like that.
Right.
And he wasn't really working. He would just, be in the Raptors, and that was it. He'd come down, maybe do a Scorpion Death Drop, or he would do a segment here where he's beating people with baseball bats or he's propelling from the ceiling, whatever the situation may be. So he was doing that.
He was still relevant.
He was relevant.
He was really relevant.
Right. But the thing that Bischoff and Hogan point out is that when they went to talk to Sting about this match, the outcome of the match is Starrcade. It's WWE's WCW, I should say, equivalent to WrestleMania, when in reality, WrestleMania for WCW is Halloween Havoc.
Right.
I should say was Halloween Havoc. But they go to talk to Sting, and his head is just not there. Hogan is just not getting a vibe that he's ready for this.
He's ready for this.
Right.
moment.
And apparently during that time, Sting, I guess, had stopped working out.
Wow.
And, they just looked at him like, this is a fucking mistake. This
could go very bad.
This could go bad. This is not going to go right.
Now, in my head, I was thinking like maybe Sting was carrying this match, but the way you explain it sounds like Hogan was the one that was actually carrying this whole match.
In any type of match that happens, the heel is usually going to be the one that's calling it.
Right.
So, and in this situation here, if you look at the match in itself, Hogan got a lot of fucking offense in that match.
Right.
Sting barely got anything.
Right.
So it's just a lot of stuff that went on there. But the most, the prevalent thing that really stands out is the fact that Sting apparently wasn't in shape for the match.
Right.
And that he hadn't tanned.
He couldn't go. He really couldn't.
He wasn't ready for it.
Right.
And it's like he had been up there for so long, been mute on TV, all of that. And on the day of the show, they were like, we have a problem. And so that's where it went.
Now, as I alluded to before we got into this discussion, this was a monster build-up. So
15-month build.
Right, yeah. This was no like quick in today's standards, that shit would never happen because the audience wouldn't be as engaged.
Right.
But the audience was engaged the whole time.
Right.
So I guess the whole sitting in the Raptors thing, he really wasn't just working out. And it's funny talking about this shit about 20 years later.
Right.
But it's to the point like I was engaged the whole time. I would have never thought that back then. It's weird to look back at it and be like, oh my God, he really wasn't in shape, or he was just not there that day. But as a wrestling fan back then, I was still like, oh hell yeah, he won the championship. But as I got older and looking back at these things, I'm like, well, fuck, this could have went a whole different way.
Well, and Bischoff explained on his podcast that Sting was wearing the bodysuit and all that. I thought the bodysuit looked work. It was basically it was a transformation of the character, and everything about that character,
right,
from the surface thing to where he was at. So I didn't have a problem with that. It's just, the whole thing just got fucked. It was a fuck finish with the fast count that was supposed to be a fast count that was a normal fucking count by Nick Patrick's standards.
right.
So that fucked up shit. So I guess if we want to, try to, what we can do to rebook this match pretty much is, I would just take that whole thing out of it. It wouldn't even be really a fast count. It would just be some type of a screw job finish. But eliminate the fast count. We don't even need to go that route. What I would have done is basically did some type of a ref bump, and then had another referee come in, and then do a 3 count. But that
take the referee out of the
equation, exactly, and just do something to that standard. I would not have even had Bret Hart anywhere near this match.
Bret Hart was there.
Yeah, Bret Hart was came down or whatever. I wouldn't even have him in the match. It would just been a simple ref bump.
Now, was that just injecting way too much fandom into the match? Because Bret Hart was fairly new. This was fresh off the whole Montreal Screwjob thing.
And remember, Bret had been a referee earlier in the night for Bischoff versus Zbyszko. Winner gets control of Nitro. So I wouldn't even have Bret Hart even involved in this situation. I know why they did it for the star power. And to basically say, okay, you did a 1, 2, 3 a fast count. It wasn't a fucking fast count. So I would eliminate the entire fast count Bret Hart situation. I would have just ended on a simple ref bump. Sting gets the win, but they can revisit later for the rematch at Super Brawl.
Right.
Based off of...
You have a continuing
Exactly.
storyline.
Based off of that.
It was, at that point, it was just like, okay, Sting wins the title and end all be all. Right? But there was no continuation. And that was a big theme in WCW. It was just like, you get to one point and you quit. And then there's no continuation.
I think a lot of the momentum, honestly, was killed. That January pay-per-view sold out.
Right.
98 really fucked, in my opinion, fucked shit up. It really killed the momentum of what they were trying to do.
Right.
Starrcade started to kill the momentum, but that middle pay-per-view before Super Brawl really killed it. Like I said, I would have basically just did a simple ref bump. Sting beats Hogan. Hogan has a gripe about this. The referee says, okay, you know what? It was a disqualification because Sting, something happened where the ref got taken out.
Or you didn't even have to do that. You'd be like, the referee's a WCW guy, and he's taking control of WCW from the NWO. You could have played that on that and made it at least credible.
Yeah, but the thing is that how many matches have had WCW referees in which NWO guys have won?
That's true.
Clean.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the only referee they had was Nick Patrick at the time, but then, Nick Patrick was going to do the fast count finish here, but then storyline-wise, Nick Patrick had got powerbombed by Kevin Nash at Spring Stampede earlier in the year, ejecting him from the NWO.
Right.
So I don't think that would work. I like my idea of a simple ref bump. Sting gets the win. Controversy the next night on Nitro as it relates to how Sting won. I don't necessarily know if I would go with the title being held up. I would say Hogan gets a rematch.
On Nitro?
I would not do it on Nitro. I would have saved that shit. If it had been a bigger venue,
but you got to think this is WCW and the ratings war.
Well, I get that.
It probably would have made sense to do it on Nitro.
I wouldn't have done it on Nitro. I would have had some type of a confrontation with the two on Nitro, but I would have saved that for Sold Out.
Right.
That's what I would have done. I would have saved it for Sold Out, and then come Super Brawl 98, Scott Hall gets his match for the world title that he won World War III 97.
Right.
He gets his match finally, and the match that he would get would be a build-up either with Hogan or Sting. I would necessarily say the hotter match would probably, in my opinion, because it would have been a big controversy, people were like, what the hell is going on with the NWO? Scott Hall versus Hollywood Hogan at Super Brawl for the WCW Championship. That's what
that would have created the rift for the Wolfpack.
Exactly. Right. Then you go from there.
Right.
And that's it. I mean, it would have been a quick thing. Sting wins the belt, but then Sting drops the belt back to Hogan in January. It sold out. Then they move forward with Scott Hall versus Hollywood. And that would have been starting, like you said, the rift between the Wolfpack, followed up with Sean Waltman getting fired by WCW. Now the Outsiders have a real agenda. They want out of the Black and White. They're going to form this faction over here, and then booyah! Just when you think everything's cool, Scott Hall turns on Kevin Nash, sides with Hollywood Hogan.
Like, that would have been
like,
money.
What the fuck is going on?
That would have been money. Now, would Sting go over to the NWO at that point? Because at that point, Sting is kind of out of the whole equation.
Sting's out of the equation, but I would actually start feuding Sting at this point with Bret Hart. That's what I would do. Sting versus Bret. So you have, like I said, we start from December with Starrcade. Sting wins the championship. We move on to January. Sting drops the belt back to Hollywood Hogan with help from Bret Hart.
Right.
Costing Sting the championship. Then you have Sting versus Bret. You move away from that. Hogan thinks he's in the clear. Scott Hall says, hold on, motherfucker. I want my rematch. Or my match that I won.
Right, I worked for it.
Exactly. I won the 60-man Battle Royal. I want my championship match. That's where you go with that. So you still NWO for life, but I want the belt. Hogan says, hey, brother, that doesn't work for me. I'm the champion. The belt is mine. I'm Hollywood. As long as the belt's in the family, brother, we keep it together. It's all good. As long as the belt is on me.
Right. And then that creates the split.
Exactly. And then and Kevin Nash is down with it. But then after Scott Hall loses to Hollywood, you think that there's the rift right there with the outside. You know, the outsider's going to be like, oh, well, fuck, Hogan. They're not.
Right.
Scott Hall is siding with Hogan due to the same storyline, his personal problems. He needs the money. So
right.
He sides with Hollywood.
Oh, that makes way more sense.
Yeah.
That makes way more sense now.
So that's how
out of that one situation.
Right. That's how I would book it.
Right. You would change the whole course of things.
Exactly.
One situation.
Yep.
Awesome, man. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you book a year ahead.
Right.
Which is what AEW is doing now.
Right.
So that is how you do it. Anything else you want to add, man?
No, I think that's pretty much cut and dry. So that's where I would have done it. And had I been booking WCW at that time frame, and at that time frame I was about 14 years old, they still be in business.
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, this is going to be our show for today. Very good discussion today.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We had a good show. So let's do this again next week. Let's build. And you guys keep listening. This is Wrestling With Our Thoughts. I am Blak Makk. This is Frank D. You want to lead the people with something good?
Yeah, basically, here's the deal. When we're posting stuff here on the YouTube channel or whatever, always, leave a like and also comment, because I'm very good at answering comments here. And as long as you guys are out there watching the content, we're going to keep pushing the content out. And we'll see where we go with this situation. We like to talk about wrestling, and maybe we'll venture on and talk about other things. So
maybe.
Sky's the limit. So on that note, wash your fucking hands.
You nasty bastards.
Exactly. And we'll catch you on the next edition of Wrestling With Our Thoughts. We out.
Out.